So welcome to the Mission Makers podcast live from Amsterdam Dance Event. Really excited to be diving into a very important topic of negotiations today, uncovering the mysterious and hidden conversations that take place behind the scenes between managers and agents. Joining me today is Leticia van Riel and Jon Sax. Leticia is the owner of LvR Management, and she manages artists such as ANNA and Wehbba, and she also works alongside Ben Turner at Graphite Management, where they oversee the management of Richie, Hawtin, and Sama Abdulhadi. And I'm really lucky to say that I'm also her mentee. And we're also joined by her colleague Jon Sax, who represents an impressive roster of renowned artists from ANNA to Guy J, Victor Ruiz. So welcome, guys. My name's Farah Nanji. I'm an artist, podcaster, and producer. And over the next hour, we're going to be exploring the various factors that influence artist fees, how agents and managers work together to secure the most in-demand gigs, managing careers with finesse while maintaining the integrity of the artist's vision. So let's dive in. So Leticia and Jon, what symbiotic harmonies aligned to unite you both in representing the artists that you share? And can you give our audience a glimpse into what a typical day looks like between you both?
So we started working in 2016, I believe, on ANNA together. And on any given day, I normally wake up to several WhatsApp messages from Leticia, I'd say, because there is a 9-hour time difference with her, actually 8 hours from Lisbon to San Francisco. But yeah, normally, there's a lot of weekends to take care of. I represent ANNA and Victor for North and South America, which means anywhere from 15 to 20 weeks out of the year. Between the both of them, I'm building their tour calendars. So on any given day, I'd say we talk pretty much every day. Yeah. Wouldn't you say so?
Yes.
Yeah.
We started working together, like you said, 2016 on ANNA. And then this year we started working on Victor Ruiz. And we just always, it's funny because when Jon and I actually reached out to Jon before when I first started working with ANNA about her. And at the time she was just, fresh up and coming, and it wasn't the time to start working together. So Jon, so it's just to say that sometimes you can have a manager and it's just the beginning of the career, but it didn't suit at that time. But then we started working together, and it's been a long time now, and it's been great. Yeah, working. Yeah. And I wake up 9 hours, 8 hours before. So Jon wakes up to a bunch of messages. Sometimes goes to sleep, gets messages, and then wakes up the next day with more messages. But we're just always working on, because ANNA is going a lot to North America, and Victor now more and more since working with Jon. So that's been really good for his career. And just making sure that the tours, now we're already, programming ANNA's tour for May. So as you can see, it's really far ahead. We're planning. Yeah.
And what does a typical trip to Amsterdam Dance Event look like for a manager and an agent?
Well, Amsterdam Dance Event is the center of the electronic music universe. 400,000 people coming from all over the world. There's nothing like the energy of ADE. Everybody being in the same room together, agents, managers, publicists, artists. It's that same kind of camaraderie and energy that brings us all to the dance floor together as well.
I call it like a school reunion.
Yeah.
Everyone's coming together, and we even just saying hi to certain promoters, or just there isn't sometimes you're just having a meeting, but just to catch up, right? And just to put a face to the name. So it's really nice.
Yeah, there's some meetings that I get nervous about, and then by the end of it, I'm like, why was I so nervous? We just being in the same room and connecting and having a casual conversation is one of the most important aspects of ADE. And there's other times where there's a lot of time-sensitive information that needs to get sorted out, and ADE used to be, cyclically being in mid-October, used to be kind of mapping out the beginning of the following year. And now I've noticed, we're already, as Leticia said, into the middle and even Q3 of 2024 now. So
So yesterday, Jon and I met and we spoke about ANNA and Victor Ruiz, and we were talking already about next year and just going through festival targets and the clubs that we want to be hitting up, and just aligning, making sure that we're both on the same page about what we I want and what my artists want for the year ahead, because the bookings do happen so far ahead that it's important for Jon to already be pushing and getting, although of course he knows this, it's important that we're aligned on it.
Yeah, and it's exciting when you look further and further into the calendar as an artist gets bigger, because there's so much more demand, and we've noticed that with Anna over the last 7 years. We're just booking further and further out, so it's exciting.
Out of how much percentage of the requests do you actually take, from all the?
That's a great question. I think that it's got to be less than 5%. I mean,
really?
Maybe even less than that.
Wow.
By the time you're at a position like Leticia and I with our artists, there's so many relationships to cultivate, and there's not too many times that new clubs and festivals come up where we don't already have a relationship. So I actually have a templated reply to cold calls, and I'd say at least half a dozen or so every single week. Leticia's forwarding me inquiries for Victor and Anna, and not many of them materialize.
Exactly. Sometimes you reply to promoters like, "Yeah, Jon Sax will take over," and then I'll send him a message like, "I'm just being polite, just being honest."
Funny. So how do you both believe the industry landscape has sort of changed over the years? I mean, what were you hoping to see, change after COVID-19? And do you think that any of these changes have actually manifested?
I would say, I think everybody, the thing about COVID is that it affected everyone in entertainment and the event industry equally to a certain degree. There are some economic moments that happen, over the last 15 years where it affected some people differently than others. But with COVID, I mean, there wasn't 1 or 2 events. There were 0 events, for a year or 2 years. So
I think, from my point of view, I think the whole industry hoped that things would calm down a little bit in terms of how insane it is to work in this industry, right? How. Yeah, it's quite energetic, but it didn't. It actually, as soon as we came back, it was even last year was insane. I think we went from 0 to 100, just in a question of weeks. It was insane. So this year, I've noticed it's calmed down. But yeah, it's been tough on a lot of medium-sized artists, a lot of people that were gaining momentum before COVID. Kind of unfortunately lost, and it's been a struggle to come back. I think promoters prefer to play it safe, and they are booking, right? The more people that they know sells tickets. So I think it's become a little bit more difficult it's true, for the middle, So yeah, but it's going well. It's going well.
Now let's talk about pricing. How do you actually price an artist's market value? What are the most important factors that sort of make up that price point?
I would say ticket sales from the previous event in the market is probably the most important. Now, if you're part of a multi-artist lineup, it's kind of hard to measure that. But I would say that's probably one of the most important indicators. But the difficult thing about that as an agent is that you have to think about hype. And hype is intangible and hard to measure. And a lot of the time with artists who ascend quickly, or say there's a new album that comes out, or there's some circle, video that goes viral or something like that, you want to make sure that you're not undervaluing as an agent. But also it's just as important to not overvalue as an agent as well, because it's bad when you approach certain promoters and, okay, I'm not going to confirm an artist for less than this fee. And then they do that fee and they lose money, and it hurts the relationship, not just between the agent and the promoter, but with the artist and the promoter as well. And that's actually taken artists a step backwards instead of forwards.
Yeah, sometimes when I get sent a really high offer, I'm like, wait, this might be too much, because the artist maybe hasn't played at her, and if like Jon said, if the promoter loses money, the artist might not get booked again, especially if it's a good promoter. So we have to be very careful with this. And I think sometimes artists, managers, and everyone can get greedy and ask for a lot of money. And actually this for the long term is not good. So you have to, go slowly. This industry takes time and everything. So yeah, I think greed can be a little bit damaging for an artist's career. You can make a lot of money very quickly, but then you don't last very long. So yeah, these relationships between artists, agents, managers, and the promoter, it's super important. And I think sometimes promoters and agents and managers, they feel a little bit like they're playing against each other, which shouldn't be the case. We're very much together, So yeah.
And how much percentage would you say social media followers and all that sort of, all that jazz that we don't like to, think about, but it is the sad reality, unfortunately, plays into it? I mean, do you think it's 50% of the value, or what benchmark could you give?
I think now, promoters are getting really clued on that people are buying followers. Yeah. So they're really looking at the engagement on social media more than the amount of followers. Because if you are amateur promoter, then you look at that and you get impressed by that and you might book that. But, the established promoters, they know. So the engagement is very important. But it does play a part. You can't deny it. It's an important thing. Social media, you can kind of see, if you have more followers, then it means you probably sell more tickets, So it does play a part, yes.
But sometimes there's been many case studies about, TikTok songs that have gone viral and it's amounted to nothing. Yeah. Or they've got millions of Spotify followers, but they can't sell ticket sales. Yeah. Obviously there's a lot of factors that go into, selling out that event. How do you guys actually leverage each other's strengths as managers and agents? How do you divide responsibilities? And how does that synergy then enhance the overall deal-making process?
Right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is a unique scenario where Leticia and Anna and Victor are all from South America, which is part of my jurisdiction. Yeah. A lot of the time, artists and managers who are based in Western Europe are from Europe. And so with Leticia, she has certain relationships in Brazil, for example, that I might not have. So we do leverage that. For Anna and Victor. And then, in other places, sometimes we'll take meetings together, like with Insomniac, for example, because we both have that relationship. So I think that, if you have the right, relationship between an agent and a manager, then you do leverage that. And every decision, whether it be touring or music, it can be done with surgical precision as long as we're communicating consistently. So
I think we need to explain a little bit, because I think sometimes people don't know the difference between a manager and an agent. I know, we know, but maybe it's good for me to explain, so an agent is like the salesperson, they have the product, the artist, and they're just pitching it to, promoters to try and get the gigs. And the manager oversees the career of the artist, everything, where they're going to release, where they're going to play, and we take an overall view of everything. So John represents my artists in North and South America, and it's crazy that North America is such a big territory that all artists only have one agent for North America. So you can have a European agent, but it's North America is its own thing. It's a whole different thing. So we both have relationships. So, not only with John, but with the agent in Europe, I have relationships with, Tomorrowland, I can speak directly, and the agent will then speak and will make it, happen, but always goes through the agent. I will never close a deal directly. I will always pass it over to John or to the other agent to, deal with the final details.
Yeah. And so going into those final details, what are the sort of various areas that are very crucial in these negotiations, and how do you ensure that your artists are actually protected in these agreements?
Well, billing, set times, those are two vital parameters for festivals. And it's a good thing Anna begins with A, because she's normally at the top of those alphabetically billed festivals, and Victor's at the bottom. So I would say billing and set times is even more important than the fee in a lot of cases, depending on the festival.
And sometimes if the fee is not where we would hope, then we're really pushing for the billing to be high, or the set time or something for them to.
Exactly.
That comes, you can negotiate that as well. So it's super important. But I must admit that I say even when you close a contract and even when you sign a contract, for me, the biggest contract is the money being in the bank account. Because, there is, in this industry, sometimes there's a lot of, we're talking about artists which are headliners, but with smaller artists that I also represent, the money being in the bank account is the biggest contract of them all, because some promoters are a bit dodgy.
Leticia might not see it every booking, but every booking, myself or my booking coordinator will dial in the first 50% deposit date, the second 50% deposit date. And yeah, Monday mornings, Tuesday mornings, early in the week, we're chasing payments all the time. And there's somebody at Liaison who's like one of her most important job tasks is to chase payments in addition to sending contracts out. So that is a really important parameter as well. And then, there's some artists who have really strict ground transportation needs from the airport to the club to the sound check. There's other artists who are live performers and who check a bunch of bags and need a certain car type to pick them up from the airport. So those are all really important parameters that I dial in before the ink hits the paper.
I think one thing, the question that you asked before about COVID, something that has changed is also the fact that ticket sales are now like right the week of the event. Like where I think a lot of people got scared that they had bought a lot of tickets, never got refunded. So now it's right at the end. So for promoters to make the payment, that has been a bit complicated as well too. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, at what stage would you sort of pull back? Is it like, would you actually wait until the day before, or would you sort of like the week before or even a month before, if it hasn't come in, would you pull the plug? If you want to hear the rest of our conversation, then head over to Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you get your podcasts.